Welcome back to Northwood University. We're at the CAMS Industry Summit at the International Auto Show. Ted Ings and I from the Fixed Ops Roundtable are here today, and this panel, Ted, is a very exciting topic in our industry.
The Women in Automotive panel. Very honored to have this group with us here today. I'll ask you each to introduce yourself, tell the audience who you are and what you do in our industry.
Good morning. I'm Camron Wilson. I'm the Vice President of Education and Training for the National Automobile Dealers Association.
Hi, I'm Maureen Martin, and I'm the Vice President of Strategic Alliances for Dynatron Software.
Hello, I'm Eve Knudtsen, and I'm President of Knudtsen Automotive Group. We're a small automotive group representing Chevrolet, Lincoln, and Mazda in North Idaho and Eastern Washington. And I'm also a Northwood alum.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Megan Gardner. I'm the Executive Director of Marketing and Communications for MEMA, the Vehicle Suppliers Association.
Hello, Julie Douglas. I am the President, CEO, Founder of DealerPay. We are the leader in automotive dealership-specific payments processing.
Julie, I'd like to start with you because we have a lot of students that are in our audience today and a lot of people that are listening about the automotive industry, and there's a lot of different careers that are available. So what inspired you to pursue a career in automotive?
Well, I remember I was young and I was early in the payments processing industry, and believe it or not, a Nissan dealership in St. Louis was targeted, I guess, for solutions that we offer. And after I won that business, I was just intrigued. I was intrigued that there were so many little businesses under one roof. And even though it was slightly intimidating, it was like a challenge for me to see if I could actually accomplish this win. And I guess from there, I just kept going.
So my story, actually, I didn't pursue a career in automotive. I pursued a career in sports. I have a master's degree in sports management. And I worked for about 10 or 15 years in sports. And I was in Boston. It was cold. It was March. It was dim. And I wanted to leave. So I got a job actually on the dealer side, a marketing software platform on the dealer side. I actually think you were one of our clients at one point in Charlotte. And I just am fascinated by the business of automotive, just like I was fascinated by the business of sports. I think that it's just really interesting, and having worked on both the dealer side and now the supplier side, it's just absolutely fascinating, and I love tracking it, and I'm very glad I ended up here.
Eve, can I direct the next question to you if it's okay? How can our industry attract more women? I know it's a very big overarching question, but if you would.
Well, thank you for that question, because I get asked that a lot. And recently, I was the chairwoman for the General Motors Women Dealer Advisory Council, and we were very engaged with how we create more opportunity for women in our industry. And I feel like our dealerships in themselves have been pretty successful in doing this. I think the one big thing that women really look for is a level playing field and a fair opportunity. So this is one industry where really we can create that very easily. And yeah, so really they want a sense that there's a level playing field. And as far as our customers go, I think that first of all, when people see people like themselves working in a business, they automatically perceive that that business is more ethical. So if I want to increase my customer base of women, then it makes sense for me to make sure that I employ women in very visible positions. So that in itself becomes attraction as well. So some of my best employees started as customers.
Camron, same question. How can the industry attract more women across, retail and beyond?
Sure. So I think one of the big things is to have a plan. We find that our dealers like Eve, who make it a plan and actually have a process to say, we want to hire more women. I think it's it's simple, but it may not be easy. You actually have to make it a fact that if you're hiring, let's say, 4 people that and you want 50% of them to be women, you have to make that plan to attract and hire more women. And so I feel like the businesses and the dealerships that actually make it a plan to hire more women do, and they're successful in it.
Maureen, to pivot a little bit, so attracting talent and attracting women in the automotive industry is incredibly important, but there's still a lot of challenges. Could you speak to some of the challenges that women face in the industry today?
I don't know. I look at the industry and I think wherever we can make it that it's authentic, right? Women need to be authentically themselves. They need to see a playing field that is fair. They also need to see other women. They need to see that a collaboration of diversity of thought is really critical. But there is really, I kind of go back to a year ago when I was here with the Northwood students. And one of the things that I learned from them was we need to really help parents and communities to see how critically valuable a career in automotive is. And by doing that and having a plan, by being sure that you can see other women in the industry, and for us to do like we're doing today, which is come out and talk. I've been 38 years in this amazing industry that I love. And, I was unique because I didn't pursue it. I actually got a recommendation from the marketing chair at Western Michigan University, and I interviewed with Ford Motor Company for practice. But I was so blown away by the industry and the dealers that I met. I thought, this is exactly where I need to be. And so I think that the challenges also, though, too, is that, women are still moms. I have triplets that just graduated from college. And so if you think about being an executive in automotive and having triplets, it's a dynamic experience. And so how do we also bring that into our retail dealerships, into our companies to understand? But I love it because it's a common ground between men and women in this industry, is that many of us are parents, and you find that common ground, which then opens the conversation.
Megan, same question as well. Thinking about, women in the industry, what challenges and opportunities are there?
Yeah, thanks for that question and the use of the word opportunity. I think that's the biggest part. The comment that was there, that see the opportunity and see those people, those women in those positions. I think that's just the most incredible thing. The automotive industry is huge and dynamic. I said I've worked on both sides there's many sides. I've worked on 2 of the sides, and it's just really the beginning. It's large, it's interesting, and to attract women to this like highly technical, high paying, high opportunity career path is, that can be a pretty easy sell if we're able to sell it to the right women. And I think it's great that your customers become your employees. That's a great pathway. So we always need to be supporting and looking out for the best and brightest talent to take advantage of those opportunities.
Julie, I'd like to ask you about customer service and female consumers. You've done a remarkable job with Dealer Pay as the founder and president. You've built up that business over 20 plus years. You are known as the sales lady extraordinaire. I know that's not just a nickname. I know you've earned that. I've watched that. And a lot of your employees, as your company has grown, are women, I've noticed, okay? And I don't think that's by accident. Talk to us about customer service and female consumers.
Yeah, so like you said, I started my business and it was initially all women at one point. It's kind of comical because my first male hire calls himself the OG male diversity hire. But no, I mean, I found that, having these strong women and supporting this business, which isn't an easy business in the payments industry, highly competitive, is their thoughts, their ability to multitask, their ability to sort of relate with dealers on a level where, no different from men, but they just seem to really have a passion for their jobs and they support the company very well. I'm super proud of the staff that we've grown, and many of the ladies are now in executive positions with Dealer Pay. Even one of them I happened to steal out of a dealership to bring over. So, you know, it's a very interesting dynamic, as you had mentioned as well, being able to relate to dealers on all levels in each of the departments.
Can I ask that same question, Camron, over to you? Customer service and female consumers.
So, one of the things that we focused on with our educational offerings is diving deeper into the dealership. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the NADA Academy, which for the longest time has focused on kind of that top level in the dealership. But we have expanded our education to bring it all the way to the frontline employees like service advisors. And I think by focusing on that, that helps the individuals feel more comfortable in their role, which helps them feel more comfortable with consumers, helps them deal better with consumers, and helps them create those relationships that make consumers lifelong customers for a dealership. And so that's one of the things that we're excited about, is also seeing the number of women that are coming through our classes much earlier in their careers, and helps them recognize that they can have a lifelong career in automotive, which is really exciting.
Maureen, I want to come back to something that you just said, because, hearing triplets in college for a second, I want to go back to that because because there's a lot of significant moments. All the women that are up here on this stage today had a moment in their career that really defined them and brought the next steps into what shaped who they are today. So can you share a defining moment that you feel significantly impacted your career?
So many. Something that just came right to my mind. I had a really unique opportunity that one of my biggest mentors in my career was Jim O'Connor, who I am still very close with. He retired as a group vice president of Ford, but I met him very, very early in my career. And Jim told me from day one that you have to authentically embrace who you are and the gifts that you bring to the table. And really, how do you apply that in a male-dominated industry? And I had a unique opportunity to go to Hawaii and be responsible, which I know everybody's going, wow, you were the zone manager for Hawaii. You're on an island in the middle of the ocean. The two people before me had left the company because they didn't feel embraced. And so when I got there, I could feel that the dealers needed a very different approach. So I asked politely for Ford to go away for 3 weeks. And I said, let me be me. And so I went to every single dealership. I got to know them individually. I got to understand that, a dealer on Maui is different than a dealer on Kauai, which is different than Oahu. And because I was able to have the ability to really embrace it, my relationships there are still to today. I've been involved with them for over 30 years with the Hawaii Auto Dealer Association. As a matter of fact, that's happening right now. And they sent me an email, a text last night saying, we're missing you. And so those relationships are ones that you build and are there forever. And if you're blessed to be in the business, as long as most of us are here on this panel, that's really very exciting and something that you can pivot. That was brought up by our prior chairmans, is really a gift to be able to do that. And that was one of my biggest defining moments.
Eve, I'd like to ask you the same question, because from the dealer side, there's a lot of us, a lot of dealership employees, a lot of dealers in the audience today. But how was there a moment that defined your career, and what would you say it was?
I think I've had a lot of defining moments. Certainly a defining moment was making the decision to come to Northwood at that time Institute. And, I was thinking about women in automotive back then. When I came here, there was one female in the class ahead of mine, and I was one of two, right? So it's interesting because Northwood, I think, defined my career by teaching me that I had a voice. I've never felt like I didn't belong in a room even if it was a room full of men. And I've never been afraid to speak up. And I got that from my experience here. And that probably has done more to define my career and contribute to my success than anything else.
Lots of great discussion happening, Ted, and so many inspiring stories.
For sure, absolutely. Megan, if I can come to you, what advice would you give to your younger self entering this industry as a woman in automotive?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And it's similar to the comments that were just made. And this is kind of my standard advice for young professionals is to be yourself. I really struggled with that. You know, my natural self is I'm a little shy. I kind of just do my work and and it's hard to really, be noticed when you're young and you're quiet. And certainly my confidence grew over time, which was, that was helpful. But I watched other people who I considered to be successful, and I thought, oh, if I'm only a little bit more like that, or if I'm only a little bit more like that, that was very uncomfortable for me to be a little bit more like that. That was just not who I am. And when I tried to put on that persona, it didn't work for me. So when I got into a management role, I had this really great team of very young people. They were just lovely and hardworking, and we were in a startup environment. It was just one of those things. And there was a holiday where they all had given this, like, signed a card and gave me a bottle of wine or something like that. And they did it in front of everybody. And they said something along the lines of, like, thanks for being you. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, I feel like I finally figured it out. We all have our own intrinsic value to offer, women, men, shy, not shy, old, young. And that diversity of thought is what makes the companies that we work for and the teams we work on more successful. So, in trying to be somebody else, I was doing not only myself a disservice, but the organizations I was working for. So that's what I would tell myself and tell anybody who would be willing to listen, to be yourself and trust in the gifts that you're bringing.
Julie, can I ask you, if you don't mind, the same question? What advice would you give to your younger self about entering this industry?
Don't second guess your ideas. Don't think that just because maybe it's new or different or not how it's being done today, that it's not impactful. Many times I remember, working with dealers thinking to myself, well, I bet if I could do this, it would help them. But I was concerned or worried that I wouldn't have an audience to listen to me. So, I would say do that. And if you don't win the first time, do it again. But when you come back, make sure you're more savvy, you're more strategic, and that you've got a true foundation for your idea, because it can be impactful. It can help change and mold this ever-changing industry that we're in. So yeah, I say just, make sure your voice is heard, like some of these ladies have said, and believe in yourself.
Let me come back to that as a follow-up, Julie. I know dealer pay today is an extraordinary success. I would imagine there were times when it didn't feel that way. How did you develop the resilience to continue on and to get you where you are today?
So I was fired once in my career, just once. And, it taught me that, maybe that was a door closing in my face that would open more. So fired, raising a family similar to Maureen, how am I going to still pursue this initiative or this idea that I had? And it's just that you just do it. You just do it.
Maureen, same question. What advice would you give to your younger self entering the industry?
That it was the best decision I ever made, and it's about taking a leap of faith. We have the privilege of talking a lot. I was a part of helping to start the robotics program in our middle school because I felt that you've got to get to kids younger and to understand. But what I loved about robotics is it was made up of teams of designer and people who built the robot, people who drove the robot, right? People who marketed the robot. And I would make the analogy to automotive and make the analogy to it takes a whole team to make a business, and that you can find your place. This industry has endless opportunities. You can find your place, but also it's the real world. I had a team that came to me and said, I don't really want to have so-and-so on my team. And I thought, okay. And then the advisor from the school had already talked to this group of very powerful women, by the way. And I said to them, you all three are amazing, and you're going to find a top job with a top company. Let me share with you what will not happen. You're going to go to that company because they're awesome, but what they're not going to do is say, hey, do you want to work with Eve and Julie and Sarah? They're going to say, here's your opportunity, run with it. And so I think that that's what you have to embrace.
We've had a fun question, Ted, that we've been asking on a lot of the panels today at the CAMS Industry Summit. And I want to start with Camron with this question. Finish the sentence. The future of automotive is. And what advice would you also give to our students listening today?
So I'll start with the advice. Something I wish I had learned earlier in my career is if you don't ask the question, the answer is always no. So if you want something, ask for it. If you're told no, keep asking until you get the yes that you want. The future of automotive, to me, it always has been and it always will be entrepreneurial. Working in this industry teaches you that there is always a path forward and there's always something new on the horizon.
I think for me, I would say that the future of automotive has endless opportunities, and there's a place for everyone in the industry. From an advice perspective, I would always give students, or really anyone, is that the only thing constant in business or in life is change. Those who embrace it will succeed. I know Brian Benstock will talk about that, I'm sure, today, and that is advice that I have always lived by and always share with young people.
So I'm going to start with the advice too. So the advice I have that worked for me is if there was something I saw in somebody that I wanted to know more about or I wanted to be like, I did everything I could to pursue a relationship with them, to have a friendship and to learn from them. And then what I would say to the future of automotive is driven by women.
I second that.
I'll third that. So the advice, of course, I just gave it, which is to be yourself. Another thing I live by is you make the best decision you can with the information you have at the time. That's gotten me out of a lot of sticky situations when I feel like I should have done something differently. And the future, I was actually talking to my colleague Brooke earlier about this because it's such an exciting future. But we were talking about people, and it's kind of in twofold. First, attracting and retaining the best and brightest, whatever they look like, whoever they are. We have a lot of complex problems to solve: regulatory issues, legislative issues, electrification, workforce, all of those things, and we need the best and brightest to do that. So I'll say the future is people.
The future of automotive is ever changing. It's dynamic, it's diverse, but you've got to embrace the change. My advice is don't stop hustling. We're in an industry that hustles. You got to hustle alongside. Be the first to show up. If you don't succeed, be the first to come right back. Many dealers, as I struggled through many years of sales, have said, Julie, you're just out there hustling. And believe it or not, people respect that. So don't stop the hustle.
Sarah, if I can ask you the same questions. You've worked many years in retail, both at the Hendrick Automotive Group and Scott Clark Automotive Group. So finish the sentence, please. The future of automotive is, and what advice would you give to the female students?
The future of automotive is inspiring. I'll say that it's an honor today to be here at Northwood University. And Ted, it's been an honor to be with the Fixed Ops Roundtable. There's been so much of this that has impacted my career, and I would be remiss without mentioning that. The times that I was with Hendrick and the times that I was with Scott Clark, every opportunity was just every single thing that I learned in those roles, I had somebody that helped pave that way. And so, as our students, the advice listening up here today, I would say that just keep being inspired, keep looking for new opportunities, keep looking for new challenges and how you can solve them in your specific ways. And as everybody has said, there's a lot of incredible things happening in our industry, a lot of incredible women, and a lot of incredible people, Ted.
Everyone, please give it up for our panel, Women in Automotive. We're here at Northwood University. Sarah Van Tyne, we'll be right back.